India has a proud maritime history. Indian seafarers account for about 10% of the global maritime workforce. There are about 150 maritime training institutions in the country, and more than 3,000 maritime faculties engaged with these institutions to train and groom the students to make a seafaring career. The faculties who are seafarers do not have formal teaching background, and need guidance and mentor to groom them. A professional body was needed to share and enhance the skills of the teachers. Maritime Trainers Guild was the first and the only professional body in the country, which is congregation of maritime professionals focused on training and development issues related to seafarers. With an active president at the helm, and the group consisting of founder members and mentors, play an active role in addressing various training-related issues. Maritime Trainers Guild has conducted various seminars, workshops, meetings, to brainstorm and bring innovative and programmatic solutions to enhance the maritime training.
Good morning, everyone. Nice to join all of you this morning on web seminar.
Good afternoon, and thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. I think it's a very good initiative that MTG has taken. Training at any point has been a challenge. COVID is a challenge. Because I remember from my days as a Director General, I have always focused on the training and education aspects. I believe that if India is to progress, it's got everything right, but if it's to make progress, the human development index, the education and training are very, very fundamental. It is
Namaste, Gurujans and my dear friends.
Without any commercial interest, the knowledge, innovative ideas, and the collective wisdom of all the members is transferred to the ever-evolving maritime industry through seminars, webinars and various training programs. Taking cognizance of the pandemic, and in line with International Maritime Organization's vision of e-learning, MTG has conducted two pilot training programs, a basic course for the learners, and an advanced course for the faculties to enhance the teaching skills of the maritime fraternity. Sharing of knowledge to create wiser people has been the intention of every great civilization. MTG has been doing this for the past 10 years. We are here today to celebrate the 10th anniversary of Founders Day. There is but one wealth, which grows by sharing knowledge.
Good evening and welcome to one and all, respected our chief guest, Dr. Malini Shankar, and all the distinguished guests present over here. Welcome to each of you uh, for this session. Before we start, I'll just try to give you the rules and regulations of this particular session to the panel discussion. So you could just keep yourself muted, please, at all times during the panel discussion. If anybody has any questions, probably they could just put it on a chat, and the moderator will pick it up, and he will try to ask the questions to the panelists. These are just brief, and as we all know, Zoom has these features of reaction, so it's you can just use a mute, which is on the left-hand side of your corner. Thank you, Ketan. You can just stop the share. So once again, welcome to you all. Hope all of you are safe and keeping well, good health. And on a Sunday evening to this award ceremony and the panel discussion today, I welcome each of you. And just start with it. I'll just hand over to Captain Kamal Chadda, who is going to just, he's the General Secretary, and we know him. It doesn't require introduction. Marex, that's the word. So over to you, Captain Kamal, to take it forward.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sanjeev Vakil. Please confirm you're able to hear me well.
Loud and clear.
Thank you so much. I'm going to start a screen share over here, but before I do that, I'd like to tell you that I am only standing in for the president of the Maritime Trainers Guild, who has taken ill yesterday and is unable to join us. He expressed his desire. He so wanted to be over here, and he was so looking forward to it all. But I think the show must go on. So here I am for all of you. Thank you. I will now start a screen share. Are you able to see, please?
Yes, please.
Thank you. So the Maritime Trainers Guild. The motto of the Maritime Trainers Guild, or MTG in short, is there is but one wealth which grows by sharing, and that is knowledge. The mission of MTG is towards excellence in maritime training. I must point out that the word towards was considered very important in this phrase because it tells us that we are forever moving towards excellence. There is no permanent state of excellence. Our vision is to create a world-class association of maritime teaching facilitators who will set benchmarks for furthering maritime training internationally and be recognized as a forum of knowledge and skill enhancement by global organizations such as IMO and the various maritime stakeholders. We are very fortunate to have this excellent set of mentors, starting with Dr. B.K. Saxena, Mr. Ajoy Chatterjee, Captain Rajesh Tandon, Captain Naveen Pasi, Captain L.K. Panda, Captain Shiv Halbe, Captain M.M. Sagi, and Dr. Suresh Bhardwaj. Sorry, I left out Captain K.D. Behel. Previous to this, amongst our mentors was also the late Captain H. Subramaniam, but unfortunately we don't have him with us now, but we really miss his guidance. The founder directors of MTG, we have Captain Prabhat Nigam, President, Mr. S.M. Rai, who heads the steering committee, Captain Shiv Halbe, who jointly heads the steering committee with Mr. Rai, the Dr. Surinder Kumar, who is the Vice President, Captain Shivangi, who is the Joint Secretary, myself, who is the General Secretary, cum Treasurer. In the Cardinal Heads, we have, The cardinal heads, we have Captain Vashni, he heads North India, Mr. Sanjeev Vakil, who heads South India, Captain Nalan Pandey, who heads East India, and Captain Apankar, who heads West India. On the 4th of August 2011, the idea of a guild was first conceptualized, and it was intended to form a group of like-minded maritime trainers. Hence, the birth of the Maritime Trainers Guild. Later, a decision was taken to celebrate Foundation Day on the first Saturday of August each year. This is in line with the modern trends of celebrating a day in a manner that it is on a weekend and everyone is available to celebrate it. So several meetings have taken place within the last 10 years, 10 physical meetings and seminars, 2 web trainings, which include training for the e-trainer and training for the e-learner. Of these, some of the important meetings were the 8th meeting, where the agenda was examination system and the way forward. This is a visual of the function, and you can see the luminaries who attended. This is another visual. Now, the 9th meeting was a very important one because this is when MTG was formally launched, inaugurated by by DGS Mr. Amitabh Kumar at the Courtyard Marriott, Mumbai. This was followed by an interactive seminar on challenges in maritime training. These are the visuals of the inaugural function. The 10th meeting was also important that it was held in New Delhi, and it was an interactive seminar on digitalizing maritime training. Mind you, this was just before the pandemic set in, so MTG was well on its way to digitalizing the teaching as well as the learning. I don't know, maybe there was a premonition that things were going to change very fast. Two web meetings took place. These were also very crucial. The first one was called the TET, T-E-T, and this was training for the e-learner, for the e-trainer. And the second one was the training of the e-learner, which was called the TEL. So that not only the trainer, but the learner also had to know how to put things together in the e-environment. There was also an MTG Launch Day Memorial Lecture. The topic was Understanding NEP 2020. That's the time the National Education Policy was put in place. And it was important to see how we could sync it with maritime education and training. Dr. Niyati Chitkara presided over this. And there was Dr. Archana Mantri as well. And Captain Gajanan Karanjikar spoke about the blue economy. Finally, wellness is such an important thing, but MTG brought in Ayurveda, in which we learned how knowing your Prakriti would also help to know yourself. Dr. Sandhya Vashisht presented. The organizing committee of the Maritime Trainers Guild is very proud to be holding this function of webinar and awards, the very first MTG awards, and a hearty welcome to our chief guest, Dr. Malini Shankar, and our guest of honor, Dr. Chitkara. Welcome everyone, and I will hand the baton back to our MC, Mr. Sanjeev Vakil.
Thank you, Captain Kamal. That was a good intro on MTG and its activities. Thank you very much. Now let's go straight away to the event without spending much time. We have two personalities we have here today. Can I have everything muted, please? Okay. So we have two eminent personalities, Captain Yankee Sharma, Yashwant Sharma, we call him as Yankee, and Mr. Pawan Kapoor, both of them who are eminent personalities in training, who are going to talk on onboard training and the challenges there. So to introduce them, Mr. Pawan Kapoor has been associated with maritime education training for the last 30 years, former head of IMTC, International Maritime Training Center, and the CEO of Tolani Maritime Institute. Mr. Pawan Kapoor founded the ISF Group in 2000, which is involved in a host of training, e-solutions, applied research, management consultancy, and academic partnership activities for maritime allied services. He is a practitioner of yoga in a way of life, and Mr. Kapoor is also the founder and the trustee of Inner Research Foundation, a public charitable trust. And to go to Captain Yankee Sharma, Yashwant Sharma, formerly a colleague of Mr. Pawan Kapoor. When I asked him his resume, he just told me one line, former colleague of Pawan Kapoor at IMTC for 23 years, that's it. And also a life member of MTG. But I know him personally, probably I would say that I'll add on, he has been my batchmate for the Training for Trainers course in 1998. So probably with that small intro, and he also conducts courses in collaboration with IIM and other management programs with various universities he's been doing. So over to you, Shri Pawan Kapoorji and Captain Sharma. Thank you.
Thank you, Sanjeev. Thank you very much. Captain Sharma, if I have your permission, I can begin now.
Certainly, sir. Certainly. Please set the ball rolling.
I hope I'm audible. And I'll just share my screen. But before that, would like to, first of all, thank MTG for giving me the opportunity of being with you all today. I'm wishing Prabhat a very speedy recovery. Really missing him. He should have been here today, but so is life. So Dr. Mali Shankar, chief guest this evening, Vice Chancellor of IMU, all the members of Maritime Trainers Guild, and members of the fraternity. I have the pleasant task, along with my colleague Captain Sharma, to discuss on-board training today. And we have decided that I will touch upon the onboard training aspect and then leave the mentoring aspect to Captain Sharma. So I'll just share my screen. I have a few slides which I will share with you all. Is my screen visible to all of you?
Yes, please. Perfect.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so we're talking about the importance of onboard training, and what I'm sharing with you is based on some of the experience that I've gained over the last 2 decades or so in the maritime training, where I have been actually involved directly in some of the onboard training activities also. So if we look at onboard training and the importance of onboard training, we just have a look at the entire spectrum of the kind of vessels that the industry has seen since the time the sailing ships were existing. Then came the steamships, motor ships, and then UMS class, advanced motor ships, advanced automation. Of course, we are now talking about autonomous ships. If you look at the entire spectrum of the development of the industry, the regulatory regime related to training has evolved considerably since the time the STCW came in 1978. And since then, of course, the STCW itself has got evolved. Plus, many other regulations have come in which directly do not talk about training per se, but they have the implications on training. There used to be something called ISMA code. Then came the ISM, and of course, from the customer side, we have the SIRE inspection, right ship inspections. Now we have TMSA, which is of course again an OCIMF initiative. So the regulatory regime has been getting stringent, and now as we move towards autonomous ships, we do not know how that would turn out to be, but that is yet to be seen, really. If you look at the degree of sophistication of equipment and machinery, progressively that has become more and more sophisticated. Looking at the extent of physical work which is now carried out on board, there has been, of course, a reduction in the actual hard physical work which was done in the older ships. And if you look at the size of crew complement on board, that has also now come down substantially. I mean, I recollect my own sailing days as a fifth engineer way back in 1980, where on a 76,000 bulk carrier, we had almost 63 crew members on board. What has not changed is that need for onboard guidance, training, and mentoring. That has remained. How that will shape with the autonomous ships, we do not know. It is something we yet to see. So if you look at the vessel itself, there is a need for functional skills. Let's have a look, what does the mandatory education and training provide us? The PC training provides sound conceptual foundation and introduces the practical aspects. Now, I would say it introduces because while we have substantial number of hours when we actually do practicals in a PC institution, but it may not really be possible to build or develop suitable skills at that level. Then, of course, we go on board as a cadet or as a junior engineer. And then, as you all are aware, that there are a series of competency programs that we have to attend. Now, what do COC programs largely do? They strengthen our concepts and, of course, they reinforce the knowledge related to practices. It is not really possible to be measuring the skills in a typical COC program, whether it is the theory part or the orals. But it's more about knowing what is the right thing to be done theoretically. Then, of course, there are modular programs which are expected to add knowledge and skills. This is where some amount of skills can be developed. And with the simulators, this possibility has become greatly enhanced, actually. Now, if you look at the entire spectrum of this training, where is the time to actually develop the functional skills? Because actually the only time available is the onboard time in between formal statutory education and training. That is where we can enhance our skills. And of course, largely we typically talk about, when we talk about the training on board, we are always referring to the cadet level people. But we all do understand that there's a need for training to be happening at various higher level also. So that's the need of a functional training. Now, onboard training, it actually provides us the right work environment, because whatever we have learned as theory and we have practiced to some extent in a workshop or on a simulator, this is where we have a chance to experiment. I would not say experiment, but implement that. And based on the experience, we start to refine our skills and start on our skills. Now, there could be debate about what should be there in an onboard training as a package. Experience has shown it has got two distinct aspects. Firstly, it should supplement gaps in core competence. Now, this is again where often there is a debate, because very often we tend to say, if I'm getting a certified person on board a ship, he should be competent to run. But if we actually look at what we have been experiencing in the industry, there are gaps which still need to be filled out. And the second aspect of onboard training largely is familiarization with ship-specific equipment and machinery operations and general practices. Now, this could be company-specific, it could be something specific to that particular vessel or the trade that the vessel is involved with. But this is something in any case cannot be covered ashore, and it needs to be done on board. The first part supplementing the core competence ideally should be there as part of the onboard training. So if we go with these two as our agenda, then what should be the scope of onboard training? Our expectations are performance and rank. A vessel, irrespective of what used to happen more than 100 years back and what happens today, it still has the same job to do. It has to carry the cargo from point A to point B in a safe, efficient manner. And for that, people on board need to perform in their respective ranks. What is the presumption we have? We believe that the person has acquired sound conceptual knowledge during his PC as well as is further reinforced and learned further in the post-sea training programs. Now, with this, inclusions in the scope of an onboard training program largely should be the task a rank needs to perform. And to some extent, if you look at the car books and the distance learning programs that are currently applicable to the various trainee ranks, they do take care of it. How effectively is something that, of course, will have to be seen. In addition, while the person is performing on board, he needs to develop soft skills and he needs to refine his personality so that he starts to learn to work in large groups and also learns how to get work out of subordinates. So let's have an overall view of what is the current status of onboard training, what are the challenges that we face, and what could be the possible solutions. Now, I've tried to break it up into three distinct areas. The first is more systemic. By systemic, what I mean is what all supports onboard training. Now, first of all, as I mentioned earlier, this is generally available for cadet positions only. At least as of today, there is no formal program which is meant for the operational level and the beginners in the management level position by these, I would say, the administration. Yes, some companies have their own specific programs those companies have felt the need for them and have implemented suitable programs. There are limitations with tar books and DLPs. This is again something from experience, especially with tar books we have seen when a junior engineer or a cadet is on board the ship, he may not be able to go through the tar book on a regular basis unless he has the right seniors to support his learning. And very often he may end up getting the signatures from the senior engineer or the senior officer on the day either he's signing off or the senior officer is signing off. The distance learning programs that are existing today, not so much for the engineers, but for the deck officers. Yes, the boys are supposed to complete the journals, but it has also been seen that very often they may not be able to do them on board ship. So ultimately, they end up coming back during leave by picking up somebody else's book, go through that or copy it out, and that's how they may be completing their DLPs today. So because of lack of monitoring in real time, there are limitations of tar books and DLPs at the junior levels. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, some companies who held the need have already developed programs. Some other issues related to systemic aspects of it is time available depending on vessel type. Vessels were a very short stay, short voyages. People come on board for 3, 4 to 5 months. So that can be an issue on as far as learning on board is concerned. And what has also happened that with time, as the equipment and machinery has started to become more and more reliable, the span between maintenance schedules has only got increased. And with tenures being much shorter on board, often it is almost impossible for a person to be able to see everything that is going on and be able to learn from actually doing work on the equipment machinery itself. So some of the solutions, some straightforward ones could be better structured tar books. Now, tar book, in my experience, also has another deficiency is that often the tasks may not be sequenced very well. Now, we all understand as trainers that learning takes place progressively. So we build blocks. Now, if you have a tar book which is structured in a certain manner, but does not take care of how a person probably will acquire, and if the person does not have the right kind of mentors or seniors on board, he may not go about the learning process in a very systematic way. Same applies to distance learning programs. Company-specific onboard programs there's a possibility that they may be better monitored by the company. And that's why the solution would be almost monitor them and execute them in a near real-time basis. That means while the person is on board, if there could be mechanism for person completing tasks and getting them also corrected by, if not on board, by shore-based people, then he can get feedback as to where he's lacking. We talk about the trainer or the guide on board. Three aspects. One is knowledge. How well has the person acquired knowledge himself? What is his experience? As I said earlier, there's a possibility a person may not have had a chance of experiencing everything on board while he was going up the ranks. So obviously, he would not be in a position to guide. The third, of course, most important aspect is how motivated a senior person on board is. Look at the growth of a junior person. Solutions, of course, Sharma would agree, we had implemented long time back a train for trainer programs for the senior officers in the company that we used to work together. Of course, there could be now with technology and with digitalization, there's a possibility of having onboard learning resources made available even for the trainers. Plus, there is absolutely a plethora, and I would say there's so many qualified, experienced senior mariners who are available ashore. If you develop systems by which the onboard training can be monitored by use of some technology, then you could even utilize the shore-based trainers and guide to do it in near real time. Lastly, of course, it's about the training. What is important is if he has not got his fundamentals clear, then obviously it's a challenge, because no matter what he's being taught or he's learning on board, he may not be able to correlate the theory with practices. So somewhere the knowledge will not be comprehensive. And of course, it's his motivation. Here, of course, again, companies today have a good set of learning resources on board. Many of them have a lot of CBTs, but somewhere probably what happens is all that seafarer realizes or knows is that he has to complete certain set of CBTs. They may not really be available or be implemented in a structured manner, which will help a person acquire knowledge and become more and more proficient. And of course, whatever is available, the CBTs, they should be available in language which is easy to understand and does not require always intervention of the trainer. And finally, as far as motivation is concerned, I'm of course going to leave it to Captain Sharma to elaborate on this. But this is where the whole thing goes beyond structured onboard training, and it goes beyond the realm of it all. So if you're looking at possible solutions, they can be implemented by use of effective technology, which has been said even yesterday by many speakers, and this would be the way to go forward. So with that, I would just like to say that beyond structured onboard training lies the realm of mentoring. I would like to thank you all for your patient listening, and over to Captain Sharma for him to discuss mentoring with you all. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much, Mr. Kapoor. And a very good evening to all the audience, and of course to our chief guest, Mrs. Malini Shankar. It's pretty obvious that from onboard training and mentoring, they are kind of coupled together. And the objective given to us was to talk about the importance of onboard training and mentoring. But right up front, I should make this distinction very clear that what happens on board is onboard training and not necessarily mentoring. But commonly we associated this word mentoring with, what happens on board between seniors and juniors, and the seniors, they're expected to mentor their juniors and so on, which in my view is more of a responsibility that now even STCW has specified, for management level staff to be responsible for training and coaching and developing their juniors. But I accept that the word mentoring is used there, and that's fine. There's no problem with that. Except that once a person joins the ship, he is there for a few months. Maybe his seniors are also changing in those few months. So where is the time to really develop the relationship which mentoring calls for? In seafaring, we commonly say gangway to gangway. That's pretty much it. Once you have left the ship, the senior chief officer you sail with or the chief engineer, you may not see him for the rest of your life. But of course, you would remember from what he has taught you or trained you, and the good things and the bad things, everything. That's also learning. But then we need to talk about mentorship that moves away from the gangway, that goes beyond the gangway. And in that respect, I would like to share maybe a few thoughts with you. I'm going to use a PPT, so you don't really have to look at my non-photogenic face all the time. And maybe if you could bring your view to the screen, we can pick up some discussion points from here. So, to start with, maybe is for us ourselves to reflect, for each of you in the audience to take a moment, look back where you have reached today and where you started, professionally, of course. And then maybe you would be able to identify one or maybe more than one or many, those who you may regard as mentors, your own mentors. Maybe they were for a short period on board, or maybe they were not even on board. As a matter of fact, when you join Sea Life, people even today when they come for interviews to join as cadet or trainee, common question is, what motivated you to come to sea? And they say, my uncle so-and-so who, or my neighbor so-and-so who was a captain or was a chief. And I'm sure at some point through the person's life, that person who motivated this young guy to come out to sea is also in some form a mentor. And it's a relationship that may carry on. So, when we say mentors, it's not necessarily people like Miyagi-san or Yoda or the character's name, I forget. But yeah, we may also think that those mentors, what did they really do for us, and what do we owe them for what they did for us? These are some thoughts that we may reflect upon. So taking off from there, and then we can probably focus more what it means to be a mentor outside of the ship's rails. It's a long-term relationship which carries on maybe for a long time. So what is this all about, and how does it help? Why it is important? Let's see. So I have this picture for you, very familiar picture of a mess room in a ship. And you can see all these guys, I think, probably celebrating somebody's birthday or maybe just some nice occasion. So my question to you in the audience is, who needs mentoring out of this lot? And the options are, the new guys, the new entrants, the guy right in front, our friend here in without hair. So I think he has just gone through a equator crossing ceremony. And that's why he doesn't have hair. Yes, I think you can figure out that's our cadet. Or is it other trainees, or is it other support level crew, or is it maybe junior officers, or maybe even senior officers, or maybe, the guy in the cap, this fellow, can figure out who that is, I'm sure. Or maybe all of the above. And maybe none of the above. So what's your pick? I'm not going to, really ask for your answer. It's just a hypothetical question. I'm going to answer it myself, and I think you will agree with me that it's all of the above who need mentoring. And why is it important? We'll talk about it. But if you by chance have thought it is the last one, none of the above, then I have to ask you, which planet are you from? Because on Earth, we earthlings, we need mentoring. That's about it. So what makes mentorship important? Well, of course, nice little word play here that mentorship is part of mentoring and building of a relationship that together goes into the word mentorship. That is just a word play, I am sure. But yeah, the important part is that relationship issue. And then let's pick it up from there to what makes it important, firstly, for the mentee. And you may all recognize this classic mentor-mentee relationship from the great movie, The Karate Kid. And if you have not been catching the Netflix show Cobra Kai, then you probably are missing out on some important mentee issues and mentoring issues. Anyhow, so for the mentee, the mentor is, that kind of a mirror that not only just reflects your image and your face, but also internally what you are capable of, that mentor is able to show you. And then he also is the roadmap that shows you the path for the success, for your achievements, for your ambitions. Also a shoulder that will support you on that journey to wherever you have, plan to go. Professionally, I'm talking about. And also a benefactor who provides the learning from his own life experiences to you, kind of free, what we can say vicarious learning from others' experiences. And also a builder of strength, confidence, and so many other things, motivation, which Mr. Kapoor talked about, to face all the challenges of professional life. So one has to acknowledge that, and this is a stated fact, that success isn't coming only by oneself. There is always someone at the back of it, and truly it is the mentor, who is your biggest asset in that sense. If you are a mentee. Let's take it on the mentor side. So what is it in it for the mentor? Why is it important for the mentor? Well, most obvious thing is that you're paying forward to perhaps all your own mentors, what you have learned from them, your seniors, your benefactors, or whatever you want to call them. You can't probably pay them back, but you can pay it forward to your mentees, to get them to benefit from your mentorship as you did from theirs. And therefore, hopefully make a positive difference in their lives, the lives of your mentees. But also, that whole process will give us, as a mentor, a new insights into our own life journey, and probably some very insightful learnings will come out of that for our own self-improvement. And then it's not that the mentee is not teaching us anything. He is probably a lot more than he realizes, and it's for us to pick up from that interaction, because it's a new generation that we are dealing with. It's new knowledge that comes from mentees' experiences and so on. And then comes the added advantage of developing own leadership and communication skills as a mentor. It's a process that never ends. It's always a constant learning and skill development process that carries on all through life. And ultimately, possibly, if you have done a good job, then maybe you are leaving a legacy of those good deeds of mentoring some people and making difference in their life and all that. And it's also an acknowledged fact that giving is really a lot more beneficial for our own self, for our own well-being, for our own mindfulness, helps our own health even. And it's nicely worded here that we make a living by what we get, but we make a life by what we give. So if we are giving something to a mentee, what could be better than that? But words of caution. So if you want to enter the realm of mentorship as a mentor, try to stay away from this very common trap that, I want to make the mentee like me. That's not what it is. That's not what mentoring is all about. We are not trying to develop our mentee into what we are, or our clone. And Steven Spielberg has put it very nicely, saying that the delicate balance of mentoring someone is not creating them in your own image, but giving them the opportunity to create themselves. As I said right in the beginning, the mentor provides the mirror to the mentee, to look what is inside him, this potential, and to be able to bring it out then. So where do we go from here? One thing, we should be very clear about mentorship, and particularly if you are going to be in the mentor role, or even if you are in the mentee role, you should understand what is not mentoring, what is not a mentor. And mentor is not a teacher or a trainer or a coach or a guide and counselor, guru, etc., a BFF, confidant, patron, role model, or even a godfather. But curiously, all of these roles are bundled up into, in various aspects of mentoring. So at some point or the other, the mentor could be one of all these, or all of these, or more than one of these. So we talk about mentoring generally in two aspects. One is what is called career mentoring, which is very strictly for professional development, which you would more find, commonly within a company, that the senior person within a company is mentoring a new entrant or a junior, or and so on. And the other mentoring is what is commonly called as psychosocial mentoring, which is really more in the realm of emotions and resilience and stuff like that. Probably more important than the career mentoring in many ways. So which mentor are we? The onboard part of mentoring really is kind of the first three or four, the first three or four of these points here. Yeah, that would be more like the career mentoring. But when it comes to the psychosocial mentoring, then we are talking, all of this business. And that, unfortunately, once you leave the ship, is very little of that going to happen. So therefore, you have to think of mentoring in a long-term basis, and it's not necessarily just on board. And there are other aspects of mentoring which don't really fit together. That once you're a mentor, you're not necessarily a superior officer. Hierarchy of the ship is not suitable for mentoring, really. And I think the reasons are obvious. How can you be a confidant as well as a superior? It's a very obvious conflict of interest. And it's not like the mentor has to be some old, gray-haired, old sea dog kind of fellow. It could be even a peer. Peer mentors are also there. It could be just, a person not even connected with shipping can be a mentor. Not necessarily it has to be a person who's skilled at the job that the mentee has to perform. That would again go into the teacher, trainer, coach area, but mentor has to then look into the psychosocial side, and that it does not need any kind of skills of navigation or engineering or anything like that. It needs relationship building skills. And definitely for the mentee, it would be false to think, and for the mentor, would be false to act as some kind of a referral agent, more like a godfather who would ease the way into the career by recommendations and promotions and so on. So with all this in the background, and those in the audience, you may ask, would you like to be a mentor? Before you say yes, let me tell you that mentoring is a lifetime kind of a role that you will play. Once a mentor, forever a mentor. In the sense that even though formal mentorship may get over in a couple of years' time, but if you have made the difference in the life of somebody, that person is in connection with you forever, even if you don't talk to them or connect with them on a daily basis. So that responsibility is a heavy one on your shoulders, because once you are placed on that pedestal as a mentor, and if you falter in some way, the crash is very, very big. You go down the abyss like very quickly. And nobody, well, if you were in the corporate world, maybe if I had a mentor like Narayana Murthy of Infosys, I would forever take his name every time I came in the public forums, and Narayana Murthy was my mentor. Till my dying day, I would respect that. But what if Vijay Mallya was my mentor? Would I say that now anymore? Or would I try to hide the fact? Because unfortunately, that Playboy image and whatever else you may associate it with this very bright entrepreneur has all come crashing down because of the circumstances. So mentor role, if you are adopting, then you have to make sure that you maintain yourself on that pedestal. It's a heavy responsibility. But if you're willing to take it, then please do look at the mentorship program being promoted by CMMI. Captain Bharadwaj will tell you all about it, or maybe even the CEO of CMMI. And we would very much welcome you to volunteer as a mentor. At this moment, the program is directed at mentoring only the cadets who are in their apprenticeship on board, but we would welcome a lot more volunteers than are currently enrolled. So with that, my 15 minutes are up, and I would like to just close with a few insightful statements about mentoring, just so that they stick in our mind. It's nicely said by the Japanese that the better than 1,000 days of diligent study is one day with a great mentor. This is directed at, of course, mentees. And if you have a good mentor, then it would really be true. And then what mentoring is a brain to pick, an ear to listen, and a push in the right direction. So it's not like, solutions are given ready-made. It's something that a mentee can develop on his own if he gets the right direction push. And then there is the final one, a mentor who's someone who sees more talent and ability within you than you see in yourself and helps bring it out of you. And therefore, the need of mentoring in a long life, maybe not just on board also, I'm not saying no, but then it's that gangway to gangway thing, how we can find ways to extend it. I'm sure all of you in your own minds have experiences with your own mentors and can easily understand the value of these statements. So with that, I thank you and hand over back to Captain Chadda.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. I think both the speakers, mind-blowing presentation, Mr. Pawan Kapoor and Captain Yanki Sharma, both have been together and both have been, they have planned up in such a good way that probably the sessions were well taken, and certainly onboard training is something which is the talk of the day, and probably Mr. Pawan summed it up very well. And mentorship, you have certainly brought across, and you yourself are a mentor. I would say that what you say, every word of yours probably, I would say that you are a mentor of my son also. I remember that when he did the program in IIM, the first class when he went for, I told that I would like to seek, he's my mentor and lesson. So I think you have put it across from your heart, sir. Thank you very much to both Shri Pawan Kapoorji and Captain Yanki Sharma. Thanks for the same. And now let's go into the most important session, the session for which we are all waiting. The whole concept of the award ceremony, which was not existing for the trainers. Basically, we have a lot of award ceremonies which we have seen across for an organization and for shipping companies, institutes, etc. But there was nothing for a trainer. I think a trainer who basically puts in his heart and soul and makes the future seafarers. There's nothing which was constituted, and the committee met, and it's 3 months efforts. Probably, Captain Nigam is here, yes, behind the scenes, but still, that's how it was conceptualized. And 3 months, the whole process started, and the jury was formed. Eminent personalities from the industry, 3 of them, 3-part jury was made, and we have now Dr. Saxena, who would be taking this session forward. He has been also part of the jury, and to introduce him, basically, I would just say that he's an ex-TMT, an alumni from World Maritime University, the past principal of Tolani Maritime Institute, and recipient of NMDC Award of Excellence in Maritime Training. He's also recently completed his one more program at WMU, which I've just seen in the WhatsApp, and I think congratulations to you, sir. You stand as a source of inspiration to all of us. And I don't know, today's day has been bringing back the days of Tota. I had Captain Yankee, who was my batchmate in Tota, and you are the judges, sir. You judged me as well when I completed the Tota in '98. So you are also a mentor for me. So thanks for being here, sir. So I'll hand over the stage to Dr. Saxena, who would also introduce our chief guest and also take the session forward. Over to you, Dr. Saxena.
Thank you, Sanjeev. I hope I'm audible well.
Yes, sir.
To start with, compliments to Captain Sharma and Pawan Kapoor, a very interesting presentation. Yes. Chief guest of the evening, the guest of honor, the fellow members of this noble profession of teaching and training, members of the MTG, students and ladies and gentlemen. Warm greetings from my side as well as from the MTG. We definitely miss our president, Captain Nigam, but I'm sure he'll be happy to see that the program is going on well by the organizing team, which he had directed actually. Ladies and gentlemen, considering the large number of our seafarers are engaged in the global shipping industry, it is obvious that MET sector is of immense importance to us. Large number of institutions are conducting various courses to service this sector. However, an academic institution is only as good as its faculty members, teachers, trainers, and instructors. MTG was formed for such individuals. To commemorate the 10th Foundation Day, a decision was taken that we must recognize these silent workers. The pandemic made the decision easier and more focused, as the faculty members had to be innovative and creative for ensuring that the message was going across. MET sector has always been based on both the education and training. MTG addresses these appropriately by having trainers in its name and knowledge in its motto. The award categories, therefore, rightly takes care of this and cover different academic functions. Accordingly, it was ensured that all aspects of MET are covered, be it classroom teaching, distance learning, simulator training, classroom training, and also including the assessment. This also ensured that the different level of teachers and instructors would be eligible for these awards, not always only the heads of the institutions or the senior faculty members of the institutions. Ladies and gentlemen, the categories were innovation in contemporary maritime education and training, innovation in developing training and assessment systems, innovation in classroom teaching, innovation in distance learning, innovation in simulator training, innovation in improvement in shipboard training, which is just touched on, innovation in practical training and skill development, innovation in assessment methods, and innovation in training aids development. Based on the nomination received and assessed by the panel of jury, the awards will be given in some of these categories. And I take this opportunity to thank my colleagues who were in the jury with me. MTG and especially the recipients are privileged and honored that the inaugural awards will be handed over by an eminent personality. Ladies and gentlemen, it gives me immense pleasure to announce that these awards will be handed over by the chief guest of today's function, Dr. Malini Shankar, Indian Administrative Services retired. She is the former Director General of Shipping and had supported the maritime education and training sector immensely during her tenure. Presently, she is the Vice Chancellor of the Indian Maritime University and also the chairperson of the National Shipping Board and advisory body constituted under the Merchant Shipping Act. Under her leadership, we are witnessing many new and welcome developments in the Indian Maritime University. And I have seen some of these quite closely. She has always supported our endeavors, and we remain grateful for that and seek her continued patronage. May I now request the chief guest, Dr. Malli Shankarji, to hand over the inaugural MTG Awards. Thank you. Malli Shankarji, please.
She's just joining in, sir. Just 2 minutes.
There she is. So, Dr. Malli Shankarji, may I request you to take these awards forward by handing over these inaugural awards to the recipients, please. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, Dr. Saxena. So the first award is Innovation in Contemporary Maritime Education and Training. And this
And the support team, please.
Yeah, I think she's just lost connectivity, sir. 2 minutes. I think she.
Sure. Yeah,
yeah, but that is required. Awards for me, that's what happens. I think we require who is the person who's got a gut. And I think probably even it's online, I think we require some suspense, and that's what is happening right now. So
yes.
Come and
I think, I'm having unusual problems with even multiple, I have 3 instruments in front of me and all of them are failing. So recording on progress.
Yeah. Murphy's Law in action.
You tried the video off, isn't she?
Yeah, madam. I think I'll just speak to her.
Yeah, that will help, I think, if the video is off.
Am I audible now?
Yes, madam. Yes, madam. You could just.
Am I audible?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. And sorry for that. It's beyond my control. So the first award of Innovation in Contemporary Maritime Education and Training goes to Captain Viraf Chichkar.
Can we have Captain Viraf also spotlighted, please, back in? Yeah, Captain Viraf, will spotlight him as well.
Congratulations, Captain Viraf Chichkar.
Thank you very much, madam, and special thanks to the jury and MTG for giving this platform. Respectfully accept this. On behalf of my team at Fleet Management Training Institute, they are instrumental to allow us to get some kind of recognition like this. So thank you so much, sir. And thank you, madam.
Thank you. Yeah. The next award in the category Innovation in Developing Training and Assessment System. This award goes to Dr. Surendra Kumar.
Thank you, ma'am. It's a pleasure and it's an honor to receive this wonderful prize award from you particularly. And I must extend my thanks to the jury, to the organizing committee, and to my mentors in particular. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you and congratulations, Dr. Surendra Kumar.
Thank you, ma'am.
We go to the next category. this award, sorry, once again, this award goes to Captain Shaukat Mukherjee. Captain Shaukat Mukherjee.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Great honor for me to receive this award. Thanks to MTG. I would like to thank you for giving me this award. And this moment would like to thank my full Naval Connection team. This is not an award just for myself, it's for the team. And I see a lot of Gurujans here. Thank you to the jury who taught me, competed for this award. Thanks to all the seafarers. Some of them had called me saying that, sir, we nominated you. I don't even know how they received the, they must have got the link from somewhere. Thanks to all those people who nominated me, and I will strive harder. I will work harder in order to deliver to my potential and more. So greatly humbled. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Congratulations, Captain Mukherjee. We go to the next award, which is Innovation and Simulator Training. And this award is being given to Mr. T. Mohan.
Thank you, ma'am. I am extremely honored to be receiving such an important award, that is Innovation in Simulator Training. I am earnestly grateful for the recognition I have received for my work, because I am sure that every other nominee for this award was capable of winning this award, if not more. Winning this award would not have been possible without the inspiration I have received from my principal, Captain Bharadwaj, and my colleagues, for whom I have the deepest respect and from whom I have derived the strength to challenge myself and perform better at each stage. I sincerely thank MTG for choosing me for this award as a mark of my achievement, and I also promise to only get better at my work. Thank you very much.
Congratulations, Mr. Mohan. Our next category awardee is Mr. Garish Jerome, being awarded in the category Innovation in Practical Training and Skill Development.
Thank you, ma'am. It's a great honor to receive this award from you. Thank you to all the juries at NTT. And I would also like to thank you, all my mentors at JNT College, and all my beloved colleagues who has always supported me. Without them, this was very impossible for me to achieve. Thank you once again. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Jerome. And the last category of awards is Innovation and Training Aids Development. And this award is being given by NTT to Mr. Shravan Revari. Mr. Revari, congratulations.
Thank you, madam, and thank you everyone at MTG. Well, thank you also to all the presenters and the other awardees. I'm sure, like mentioned by others, that there are several capable and people in the fraternity that have made large contribution. So thank you very much, and thank you to MTG for always keeping this action happening and provoking thought. Thank you, madam.
Thank you, and best wishes to each one of you for furthering the cause of the MTG. And thank you for giving me an opportunity to announce these awards. With that, I hand it over to Dr. Brijesh Saxena for further proceedings.
Thank you, madam, and thank you for being here and giving these inaugural awards. I'm sure the recipients are going to remember this event, and of course, it will be well recorded in the history of MTG that the inaugural awards were handed over by you, and a very eminent personality also connected with maritime education and training. So thank you once again.
It was my pleasure. Thank you.
My congratulations and compliments to all the awardees who have received the awards, a very well-deserved award, and may you continue to take the work of MET forward and spread the work of whatever you are doing, whether it's with respect to the knowledge enhancement of the others or the skill developments. So once again, compliments to each one of you. And I want to thank the President to give me this responsibility to do this, the work which was entrusted to me. And with this, once again, greetings to everybody, and back to Sanjeev for taking the program forward. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Dr. Saxena. And Ketan, if it's possible, can we have all the awardees spotlighted along with our chief guest and Dr. Saxena, please?
Okay, will do.
We'll have just normal photo session, sir, because that's something which we do on normal award ceremony. But I think it's going to be a privilege for all the awardees as well to be with honorable chief guest and certainly the jury.
Yes, that's a wonderful idea. Yes. We have all together. Yes.
Yeah, just adding up. I think. Yes. Dr. Madam, I think. Yes. Yeah, has it been taken? Backend photograph taken?
Yes, taken.
Thank you. Thank you once again, Dr. Saxena, and jury who has been behind it. I know you got many applications, and for a jury, it becomes difficult task to really decide the winner. And of course, and getting an award from India's Vice Chancellor, largest university, it's something a privilege. Having giving this award means a lot to all the awardees and for MTG in particular. So thank you, Dr. Madam and Dr. Saxena, sir. So we would, with your permission, proceed further to the next session, which is again a very interesting session, which would be taken up by Captain Shiv Halbe. Captain Shiv Halbe requires no introduction, and basis on that, I would just still say that he's the next Rajendra 7476 and of MASA. Basically, he's been a renowned personality and has been instrumental in many policy changes at the Directorate as well. So I'll just hand over to Captain Shiv Halbe to take the next proceedings further. Captain Shiv Halbe.
Thank you, Sanjeev. Thank you very much for the kind words. I have this privilege of being able to steer a panel discussion with the awardees. And I think very seldom do we get the awardees so hot off the press, where nobody else has spoken to them, but I do get an opportunity. And I sincerely hope that I will be able to echo the sentiments of the other participants in this event. Before we start with the proceeding, may I request the backend to put up the simple rules of what we are going to do now? Sanjeev, is that possible?
Yeah, okay. Ketan, can you just play the slide, please, so that
we are aware of what's going to happen.
So, okay, the slide wise, initially what we mentioned, sir, okay, it's going to be an interactive session.
Yeah.
And all the questions would be on the chat. So you'll be steering this particular panel discussion, which basically, okay. Yeah. So that's been so you being also the moderator and session chair of this session, the questions would be put on chat directly by anybody and everybody who wants to put across. And certainly we would try to take those questions, and Captain Shiv Halve will be asking one of the speakers, panelists, to just speak across and give the answers. These are the basic rules, sir. And I'll request everybody to keep your mic muted. And I think it will be one person who will be asking the questions. That will be Captain Shiv Halve. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Let me go over with a brief introduction of the awardees for the sake of protocol. and the introductions will be in the same order in which the awards were given. First, we have Captain Viraf Chijgar from Fleet Management. And for those of you who may not know, Viraf is an ardent technology buff, and his forte has been, he is considered to be the practicing guru of EGDIS, to the point that he has been able to advise Intertanko to update their procedures for the vetting inspectors so that unnecessary observations do not come from the ships. And those of you, and this is something very essential for the business, because those of you who are in the operations or ship operations will realize that to close any observation which shows up during a SIRE inspection is a monumental task. It's not just about this was wrong, I corrected it. It doesn't end there. There is a immediate task, and then there is a policy change, and etc., etc. And it can go on forever. And Viraf has been able to persuade them to make these changes, which are actually very good for the business. Where the gap between what was operationally being done and what was being practiced or by the inspectors, that gap he could close out. Wonderful. We will talk more about this, Captain Viraf, as we progress further. The next gentleman is Dr. Surendra Kumar. And so nice to introduce Dr. Surendra Kumar, who is actually a colleague in the MTG with us, and a very deserving personality. So was Captain Viraf actually. Dr. Kumar has authored 2 books on dynamic positioning. He is the master of DP vessels as far as we know. And he has been an ardent, again, a teacher trainer at heart. And many do not know, but he has completed or passed the UGC's NET, that's the National Eligibility Test, which the professors or lecturers are required to pass to be able to teach in a university affiliated college. And it is not easy to get through to that. So Dr. Kumar, we will have definitely some questions for you, like everybody else. I'm making these introductions brief because we have only 35 minutes, and we would rather talk to you more also. Next is we have Captain Shaukat Mukherjee, the founder of the Naval Connection. Captain Shaukat has been a very vocal supporter of things maritime. And we have also known him for conducting interactive sessions in the past when we were able to meet. But not to be cowed down by the pandemic, he has recently very successfully conducted extremely large volume events in the past 1 year, which have received industry-wide accolade. And Captain Shaukat, I leave this introduction brief right now because we will talk to you more about what you have done in the recent past. We have next Mr. Mohan, who is a chief engineer and a faculty at the Masa Maritime Academy in Chennai. Mr. Mohan has been conducting the ME engine course on full mission simulators before the pandemic. And when the pandemic came about, the real challenge was how does he conduct the course now? Because no simulators were supposed to be operating with social distancing norms and etc. Not to be cowed down, he and his team moved ahead and went into cloud-based simulation, and we will talk more about that. And these courses become extremely useful or necessary because they're not STCW courses. They are the courses required by the industry, and the industry doesn't stop. They still need to operate, and they still need the people trained. So what did Mr. Krishna Mohan do? We will talk about that, sir. We have next is a young gentleman called Garish Jerome, who is an instructor at HIMT. Mr. Jerome actually breaks the myth that teaching or training is for those who do not wish to, those who have sailed enough and now want to step ashore, and so sort of unfortunately sometimes referred to as a retirement job. But he came ashore at a young age to mentor and train the youngsters, and he has done a lot of things, and we will talk about that as we progress further, Mr. Jerome. Yeah, thank you. And the one who is going to bring up the rear is a colossus in his own right, and really it's Mr. Shravan Rewari. And so very nice to see you, Shravan, after a couple of years now, I think. Delhi bahut dur hai abhi. Mr. Shravan Rewari has conceptualized, developed, promulgated, whatever words are not sufficient. He has put India on the map of simulation, maritime and otherwise. And we will talk a bit more about that during our discussions. With these few introductions, let me get straight to the Q&A session. So over the past, and now when I'm asking the question, I will specifically ask to whom I'm addressing, so that we don't start all talking together. We have, over the past 1.5 years, we have seen changes that we never ever anticipated. Yes, the system has seen changes which have been earth-shaking. UMS, about 45 years or 50 years back, when the UMS came about, it was an event which was which shook up the engineering department on board ships. Subsequently, when GMDSS came about, the deck side or the nautical side had their hands full dealing with that change. And latterly, we had the EGDIS, which has come about, and that itself is now, over the past 5-7 years, has created its own challenges. With all of these changes, and what is in store for us in the future, what we can see is going to be turbulent as well. We know that. With all of these changes that are coming about, each of you, may I request each of you, starting with Captain Viraf in the same order, how do you plan to handle these changes and essentially bring about your target audience on board to adapt to these changes? Can we start with Captain Viraf, please?
Thank you, sir. Thank you for allowing me to commence. The issue is, our key problem till now is we tend to look at any kind of change or innovation in whether it's out at sea or any technology or even MET. We tend to look at it at an angle of it being a replacement. Let's say, for example, on-cloud simulator, it's been perceived by the industry as a replacement of a physical simulator because of the current pandemic, and it's being used. It's been considered a plug the cap. That is where we would like to differ. Technology, digital technology, our team at the Fleet Management Training Institute, or the support we got from our principals in Hong Kong, they saw potential of this in the true sense of the word innovation. Now, very honestly, I use technology today to look back on the word innovation, since it's in all categories of awards. And I realized using technology is that it stems from the Latin word innovare, which is the verb for renewal. It is not the verb for replacement. Now, till we keep on seeing technology as a replacement, it is difficult for people to accept it as a change. The technology that is being offered today should be seen as an add-on. The same way that you had marine simulators being developed in, let's say, 1966 onwards and everything, a simulator training was designed to supplement the onboard skills, the onboard mentoring and training. It was never meant to replace. So that is the key idea. If you would like the industry to implement this, if you like the acceptance, we must realize that these innovations are not replacements, they are not plug the gaps, but they are going to supplement and increase and improve the technology. To add to this, just something I picked up from another author. It was on a site related to dyslexia, but it said that if the child is not able to learn what you teach, then it's about time to change the way you teach. You have to learn a different method to teach. It's credited to a gentleman called Ignacio Estrada, who's a training consultant. And that is what is the need of the hour today. Our target audience spends much more time on devices today than an average teenager of my generation spent on maybe a black and white TV, far more this thing. So we have to use a medium which is acceptable and in their comfort zone and supplement traditional training methods. It's not replacement, it is renewal. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. A question for Mr. Mohan. Since you are appearing next on my screen, so that's why I'm going to you, Mr. Mohan. You moved from full mission simulators to cloud-based simulators during this past year and a half. How did you, Captain Chijgar just now mentioned about teaching and learning. Both are necessary, both are complementary to each other. One is the result, in fact, of the other. How did you find the changeover from the perspective of teaching as well as the target audience, because they were also in different age groups? So, I'm not going to get into the argument about a technology dinosaur, but the point is, I admit myself that I am really no competition to a 30-year-old guy with technology. So how did you manage to bridge that gap? Because for ME courses, you will get a 55-year-old chief engineer, very experienced one, and you will get a 30-year-old third engineer who is very good at technology.
Yes, actually, earlier we were doing in the full mission simulator. Then later on, the circumstances forced us to go for this cloud-based simulator. Of course, initially we had apprehensions whether this is going to succeed, whether the students will be able to gear up to the requirement of operating this cloud-based simulator, whether he will respond to our training. So we had the apprehensions, but then we found out that this cloud-based simulator, in this, the quality of teaching as well as learning both is much higher than physical classes. That is in the academy when we are teaching with the full mission simulator, because here we could give individual attention. And the candidate also on his own, he can practice many things. It is very common understanding that repetition is key to increase the level of competence. So he can try many times till he reaches the competence level. The trick in adapting to this cloud-based simulator is we have to make the candidate comfortable. That is initially, of course, many types of candidates, as you said, senior as well as juniors who are more adaptive to this modern technology. So all type of people, they come. So if you can make them comfortable by teaching them the relevant requirement to operate this cloud-based simulator, then they start enjoying it. Then really, they do things on their own. Then the instructor has to only guide them how to do it. They really enjoy, and whenever the candidate enjoys anything, he will learn better. So in that way, this cloud-based simulator, I have found, is extremely interesting, useful, and it is a very good tool to increase the level of competence, especially for those who are going to be operating in this ME engine. They found this very, very useful, and they all appreciated after completing it. In fact, they have even sent us feedback after joining the ship, how much useful it was. So it was very, very useful to everybody, both the learners and as well as the trainers. This is a very good tool now. Yeah, that's my view, sir. Thank you.
Wonderful, wonderful. There is no better outcome than a wonderful jugalbandi, you know, where the trainer and the learner both enjoy it. It's perfect outcome. Since we are talking about technology, let me jump to Mr. Shravan Rewari, a man of few words and more action. Mr. Rewari, there is sometimes a confusion people have about innovation and invention. What is exactly or how would you say there is a difference between the two? And what, as a developer of simulators who has given us the simulators, what prompts you to produce one? Where do you get the impetus to say, okay, I need to do something about this? I know it's a question which is essentially going to talk about your life's journey, but if you can be brief and tell us something about it.
No, I'd rather not talk about my life journey. So, it has been fairly adventurous. But one thing is that, I think trying to define what would technically be, a dictionary definition of invention or something that's new or something that's, changing or something that's fresh. These boundaries are pretty blurred because there's no end to, I would say, exploration and discovery is on science and arts, etc. And fundamentally, even Einstein himself, when he was young, thought that the atom was the center of the universe and it could not be shattered. And now, when that can happen to an individual, then I guess we understand the history. And this is documented in the archives in the US, New York. It's very interesting to see that archive where he's actually mentioned that this is not possible. So anyway, coming back to some of the points of whether something, I think what pointed your question was, see, in terms of simulation, the boundaries between what's real and virtual are blended. They're blurred now. And the stage in which we are, even if one does a count in terms of millennium of evolution, we are at that point of the curve where lots of things around us will start changing in very subtle ways. Some of the more obvious ones you would have experienced is when you simply started using your email and started using your search engines, you were, shown a very different world rather than exploring for yourself. There were things that were posted and put at you. It's the same underlying philosophy that we'll see on board ships, like was mentioned earlier. Engine rooms were unmanned 45 years ago, I don't know. And what happens in the future? These boundaries will continuously be blurred. And one of the things that is important, just like any fabric that one takes, is that when you have a seam or you have a transition, then you would like it to be smooth. And these transitions, small incremental steps, are now finding their way, be their voice control, safety measures, and the system having a mind of its own. So coming back to, let's say, the marine more focused thing, I think one thing we should always agree that there's something called Newton's laws of shipping. So anything at rest will remain at rest unless there is external force acted upon it. The rate of change of momentum would depend on the force applied. And every action has an equal and opposite reaction. So I think all of us have faced this in our own ways. I made it a little bit more specific to shipping. But just as we go through this transition, to be relevant is the modeling of not just the physical plant and the real world, but it's also the instrumentation and the control systems that are now equally important, if not more. So in terms of simulation, both these recreational realities are important, the actual machine and the plant, but also the control system. So I think I rest my case here.
Thank you, Mr. Shravan. I know we can speak to you much longer. I have Dr. Shankar has posed some questions, and I will put the first question to Captain Shaukat because it is more in your line. So I will put it to you. How do you improve or enhance the competence in communication skills of the younger generation seafarers? This is something the older generation keeps harping. Either they don't understand and disconnect, or there is a genuine problem. And you are the master of communication in this group in distance education and learning.
That's a very interesting question. Thanks for putting this up. Before I go on to this question, I just want to add a few lines to what
Sorry,
Mr.
Shaukat,
said.
sorry to interrupt you. I don't want to break your chain of thought. And Dr. Surender, you are going to receive the next question on your domain. So be prepared, please. Sorry, Shaukat, go ahead.
Absolutely okay. So I just wanted to forward a little thought of what I was having when Mr. Riwari was speaking, and something that you also said. And that I would, this word innovation, which we use a lot many times in our speech and during this, what I feel is, even if you look back and when we said we invented fire, that innovation is not to do with new technologies. That stone was always there. Somebody really had to pick up the stone and rub it on another stone, and then that was fire. So when you talk of innovation, is there any word of innovation, like sort of what are you innovating? Because that technology is already there. It needs to be discovered. Now, saying this, what I feel is the difference between technology and that was invention. Technology and innovation was how we use technology to get what we want to do. It defines who we are. Now, in communications, like you said, and the question was how we communicate. Communication has taken a very transformational form in the last few years, and it has nothing to do with the pandemic. Over the years, when we have evolved as human beings, we have evolved in communicating with each other. So previously, even now, there are certain people who feel that one-on-one communication can only happen when you meet people. But I am appalled at that thought, because the way the communication is going now there will come a time, and we've already, I was reading an article on ISRO, and also they have tied up with NASA on this. With the level of the way the artificial intelligence is going, the way of communicating will be such that you think of something and the other person will be able to understand what you're thinking. I mean, through, of course, AI means over the. So the way that communication is evolving, we have no idea of how we'll be able to communicate in the near future. Coming back on how we communicate and how we understand the communication over the virtual forum is very simple. That the use of technology, I've always liked to say this, that good technology does not make good teachers, but good technology in the hands of good teachers will be transformation. So if we use innovative means of taking, building communication levels, of engaging people, even on the virtual forum, the most important challenge we have is engagement. It is not technology, it is not anything else but engagement. We are unable to engage people online, and that's where people think that this doesn't happen, that doesn't happen. The way the moment we start innovating and bringing in people to engage with more and more people over different modes of the use of technology in innovative ways, that is the time when we have real communication happening. Like, for example, let's take an example which we do, and you asked me what we do. We are promoting something called collaborative learning. Now, if you take an example of a textbook versus online learning, previously, imagine there's a chapter 9 on ocean currents. So we had chapter 9 where people all used to read about ocean currents in different ways, and then they took up those exercises, that summative assessment at the end of that chapter, and they answered all the questions. So learning happened where people read the chapter 9 and took those questions, and that's what the textbook is supposed to be. Now, with the communication levels, with the kind of platforms that we are using where people are all together, how about we give people a project to work on ocean currents? Now, each student has got a project of his or her own to work on on ocean currents. And then he has the whole world in his fingertips. He can go to Google, he can search, he can go to any search engines, and he or she makes his own project of ocean currents. So somebody will come up and write about the origin of ocean currents. Somebody will write about their strength. Somebody will write about special currents, underwater currents. Somebody will write about subtropical currents. And then what does the teacher do? The teacher assimilates all the learning of takes down all the projects of everybody, whoever has given up these papers. They will collate them, and then they will ask people to develop chapter 9. So in one hand, what is happening is with the textbook, we are only consuming knowledge. We are just consumers. But here, with the advent of online education, with the advent of different tools and innovation, we are not only the consumers, we are producers of knowledge. And that's when communication happens. So use of online technology to enhance learning, whereby involving them to not only consume knowledge, but to produce knowledge, and then involve in a collaborative way of sharing of information, is what we want to do. And we are doing it, and it's a huge mindset change. Like, the most important challenge in innovation is not about that you want to make a change. It's about trying to tell people that we need to change. It's like, if I tell my grandmother that eating with hands is bad for health, and she will not believe, because she's just grown up eating with her hands. But then if you go into a business meeting and if you see everybody eating with their hands, now will that change the way you do business? But think about it. It's a food for thought. I mean, when we talk about people, when we talk about years and years and years of transformation and what they've grown up with, and you tell them, no, this is incorrect and this is not what we want to do. But maybe the better way is to tell them, listen, this is good. Let's take this and use it in a different way to achieve better results. And that's what we do to enhance communication.
Yeah, thank you, Captain Shaukar. Yes, engaging the learner has been a challenge, and not just in recent times. I was, for some reason, which I will not go into now, I was reading something on the great mathematician Bhaskara, who was in 1200 AD or something like that, 12th century. And he's the one who gave us algebra, for your information. And he wrote the book for his daughter. That is the story, actually. And he has, when he was giving sums to his students, in one of the sums, he says there were 6 monkeys and they did this. So basically, you have to solve the simultaneous equation. And one of the students asked the teacher, or the Bhaskaracharya, why are you referring to monkeys? He says, you give us a simultaneous equation. And he answered, it is to keep you engaged. That's the reason I gave you monkeys. I could have told you there are 6 pearls fallen here and 3 pearls fallen there. I could have told you that. But when I said 6, there were 6 monkeys, one threw X number of pearls here, one threw Y number of pearls there. You listened to me. And so this is a problem which is 900 years old. So we can live with it for another few hundred years, I guess. The next question I have is for Dr. Surendra Kumar. Your forte is evaluation, assessment, and training and assessment. Is the capability of the teacher a dampener or a concern for effective testing and evaluation, or can you do irrespective?
I will start with a very, very simple answer with that. So yes, it can be done if we have the required tools. Though we have many of these, but what is suitable for the students, what's suitable for the class, what's a suitable tool for the kind of teaching you have undertaken. So if you have all that, I think anyone can do it. But only thing is that, yes, that anyone must be trained up to certain levels to do that. We have been talking about assessment, we have been talking about training. To do so, I would like to just take you a few steps backwards rather going forward. That's a matter of past. And I would like to take you to something which we normally call today as disruptive technology. When something happens, as the example of today, that when we were not able to conduct the normal classes, we switched over to e-classes and all. So this is something which is pointing to disruptive technologies. The same thing happens to assessment. If we do not have the proper tool, so we take shelter of disruptive technologies into assessment. And many of the assessment technologies have evolved because of that. I'd like to mention the research of Donald Kirkpatrick. That's what I use as my basis. So Don Kirkpatrick made a few changes, and those changes were not really liked in his time. That time he was a university professor in the US, and he wrote his PhD thesis on this. And this became so famous that almost the whole world today is using this. Of course, there are many more methods to assessment and evaluate training. In particular, whatever learning we call it as a training or learning. But Kirkpatrick's method became an instant hit because it was easy to adopt, it was easy to adapt, and it was easy to work on. The 4 levels of Kirkpatrick, which has taken the world by storm and is still being used, is not something which has been modified, is still being done the same way. But what is the need for all those things is that we prepare the students for the future. And that's where the word, because if you do not add value by that training, if the assessment has brought that out to you, are we training the students for the future or not? That should be the aim to take any evaluation or assessment, and that should aim at revising, and the feedback must come back to the system so that we can revise the system to suit the need of the trainees who are going to be the workers for the future. So we have to look at that and then make our training and make our assessment accordingly, which is suitable. And that's where I take the help of disruptive methods or disruptive technologies for that. That's my take on this.
Thank you, Dr. Kumar. I must tell the audience that we have a limited amount of time, and though we would like to spend half a day with the 6 awardees listening to their views and opinions, it's not going to be practical. I have some more questions, but I must ask Mr. Jerome, you are the somewhat odd one out in this screen because you belong to the younger generation. And what did prompt you to actually decide to step ashore and immerse yourself in maritime training and connect with the youngsters? And how do you do that? Because you are the person on the shop floor, actually.
Yes, sir. Thank you for that question. I stepped ashore due to I had some issues, personal issues, and I wanted to give back to my same industry. I didn't want to go for any other job. So I thought, whatever I have learned from my industry, let me give it back to the industry. That's how I landed up in a HMT. And speaking on the training part, I would like to borrow a word from Captain Saukat sir, engaging the audience, that is our cadets. When you're looking at the pre-sea cadets, these people, they haven't seen the ship. They do not know what is engine room, how it is, how it feels, nothing. They don't know anything about it. So to bring exactly a scenario of how it is and how it feels, that was the major thing, a challenging one during this online training session. So we started from instructor, we had to move from instructor to videographers. We started shooting films with a vast infrastructure at our college. We started shooting all the maintenance videos, training videos, everything, which helps in training a better seafarer. Also, later on, we thought it is not just to stop with the videos, because in videos, they're not able to use it by themselves. So we planned that let us make some 3D models, much more innovative. So we started working on it, and right now we are working to make an entire learning modules for all the departments like BTech, BSc, GP rating, GME, CTO. For all them, whatever learning modules we can make and represent it in 3D, we are trying to work in creating learning modules for them.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Jerome. Thank you very much. It's already 6:45, and I have one question, which again, I know there will be multiple answers. We are now in a time where we have been forced to move from the brick and mortar classroom to the cloud-based or remote learning, as we call it. And we have already branded this as the new normal. Yes, we have certainly derived a lot of benefit, quite a bit of benefits from this. But where do you, all of you are trainers, where do you see this heading? We have branded this as a new normal. Does this happen that, okay, 2 years later, when things do open up and we start treating COVID as nothing more than a flu, what do we do? Do we continue with this, or how do we handle? Who wants to go first? I would certainly like to hear Mr. Shravan speak about this. And of course more, but let's, Shravan, you're muted.
No, Captain Halpe, I think what we do is probably a policy, at least for the regulated kind of courses. But globally, if you look at different technology companies, based on what the companies really want to do and achieve, they've adopted, they're moving towards a hybrid model.
Blended model, yeah.
It's a hybrid kind of a model where certain activities are definitely proving themselves to be more effective online than actually in the classroom for several factors. So there's enough data to support that. And I think there was also a mention of when running a simulator course, for example, just a course, an interactive course. So whenever we are, let's say a simple example of a RANSCO cubicle or something like that, and you have n number of people playing a role within one ship, which is bounded by, not an appropriate size right now, but that's the way it is. Now in that setup, there's always one leader and there's talking that's happening. And people sometimes don't get a focused attention onto a particular equipment that they're supposed to monitor. These things get covered very easily with when you are faced with the screen in which your action is solicited, not someone else's prompt. So that's a different, just a simple example of how a particular course becomes more effective, at least aspects of it. But globally, worldwide, I think that the social element is, people are retooling their houses internationally to be able to be more effective from home. We were not ready for this, this setup happening and people having to set up things at home, etc. But different trends, different data points are showing that there is, for a certain category of workers, they are moving. Otherwise, it's, a lot of people are hybrid and they're coming to work to meet for meetings and for other aspects, besides compulsion. And also for something there's a very high cyber risk, which are extremely high security required. And, after recent news that you've been hearing, people are now physically also going in to do certain kinds of work that will not change. There will not be a dependence on any communication network of any sort.
Sure.
Sir,
Thank you. Thank you, Shravan.
sir, are we out of time? Can
Yeah.
you give me 1 minute on this?
Yeah, sure. We are out, but we will have another 3-4 minutes.
No, why I'm saying.
But you have 1 minute because
Yeah,
I have one more question for others.
I want to use this to play a game. This to make a point to play a game. All of you are on chat now. Everybody, I'm asking you a question. Can you just put your answers on the chat, please? The question is, what is the primary function of an assessment? Why do we do assessment? I mean, it's just a question. I just wanted to ask your opinion on this. Just put it on chat. What is the function of an assessment?
You will
feedback, right? Feedback. Yeah, I'll take 1 minute, sir. Don't worry. Assessment to evaluate a person. Absolutely, right. So the question is, which I've asked to everybody, and this I would have answered the same way maybe, that we look at assessment as assessing or finding out what a person does not know, right? And to measure learning, somebody said. But if you think, and we are talking about e-learning, and you just now said what will happen, where is this heading? I'm looking at a time when the question is not where is this heading, the question what we need to ask ourselves is, what would happen if e-learning stops? Now, the example why I gave here is that I asked people what is the use of assessment, and we have a mindset that, we always say to evaluate and to find out what people know. If I were to come and say that we can use this tool of assessment to teach, I mean, why don't we use the tool of assessment as a learning tool instead of just finding out? And this can happen only on the online forum. Of course, how this happens, there are specific ways how we use that, innovative ways of using the tool of assessment in order to learn and share information. How that happens is another story, which of course is for another day. But these things can only happen only on the online forum. So online forum has changed radically the way we teach, the way we learn, and the psychology of e-learning, and that definitely should stay with us.
That's a valid point, but that is also a bit of a challenge, especially when you are trying to mold a teacher who has been teaching in front of students for 20 years. He does his assessments then and there. Having taught also, I can assure you that when a person is teaching and a good one at that, he will know in 2 minutes how much his students have understood and which of the students have not understood, and he will repeat it. They do that. Online is a challenge for them because it's a medium they are not used to. But that's a different subject, and
yes,
we can have a separate dialogue.
Absolutely.
I have a question for Viraf and Jerome and Mohan. Since please, my apologies in advance for not using your ranks because it just makes it so nice and easy. It's that you are the ones who are interacting with the seafarers, seniors and juniors at different models. How do you find the response from the seafarers, maybe the masters, chief engineers, and seniors on board, when the students have gone through you about, with the training, online training that has been done? What is the response you get? Is it good, very good, doesn't make a difference? What is it?
So may I proceed?
Yeah, please. Viraf first, Mr. Mohan second, Jerome third. Just because you appear on my screen like that. That's all.
So let's take one of the key apprehensions which was there about going on an online or a hybrid platform within India. One of the key apprehensions was, will the Indian rating manage this and will he gain from it? In fact, they have taken up better possibly because of the age. But this is exactly what we are trying to highlight, that these newer tools are something that they use in their day-to-day life. So it's in their comfort zone. A rating was previously, at his own expense, maybe had to be dragged from literally because of the infrastructure challenges, etc. He catches an early morning train from Valsad, comes into Navi Mumbai, just has a quick brush and comes in. He's not in his comfort zone. He's not in a mental state to accept the training. He's worn out and everything. Today, he's accepting the training in his own environment, in his own comfort zone, at his pace. He can, this thing. So yes, traditional forms of trainings do have a lot of pros. and some cons. Similarly, the newer methods also have a lot of this thing. Same dissemination of information. We have senior chief engineers who have all obviously trained on MC engines. And how many physical simulators did we have with ME setups? Now, if we have to disseminate this ME engine, the differences, the key trainings and everything, and if you have to wait for each of them to come down in these limited seats and fly them down, and I'm talking pre-COVID, I'm talking about a normal scenario. Yeah. When would we, disseminate this information? How soon? After 3 trips that they've done using ME engines and struggling and having losses because they were not given that opportunity because logistically it was not possible. So for a senior staff, definitely this platform, it's just a medium that is new to them, but it's not challenging. It's a misconception. They are doing very well. They are happy that the information is coming to them real time. The average, not the average as an average, but the regular candidate is very happy that he does not have to lug around a 300-page handout at sea. Today he has a QR code on our classroom. He scans it. That 300-page manual is in his mobile phone. He can refer to it while he is in front of the equipment. You have YouTube videos today, step-by-step guiding, which Mr. Jerome said, and very pleased to hear that HIMT is taking it to the next level with 3D models and interactive models. And imagine today somebody struggling with the EGDIS and he's on ship and he can actually play and pause the video and see the next step. So that is real-time training, I would say. So people are generally, the feedback is very, very good. It is not being viewed as a replacement or a temporary alternative. It is being viewed as a supplementary or advance or a renewal of skills, one additional aspect of training.
Thank you, Mr. Mohan. You are the one at the front end, on front end of extremely new technology to deliver new technology. You are muted. You are muted. No. Yeah. Please go ahead.
Actually, my view is this cell phone and internet connectivity has totally revolutionized this knowledge, acquiring the knowledge. Now, people need not memorize anything. If they want, they can get any information instantaneously. So that has given them, a lot of confidence in going for application of the knowledge. That they don't waste time in memorizing the things. So this is a very good tool for today's environment and very fast-pacing technology advancement. And as far as this ME engine simulator course is concerned, it is very well taken positively by everyone, because I have seen even the chief engineers and operation level engineers who have sailed with the ME engine. They also come to the course and they say they were merely blindly doing certain things on board, but when they come and do this cloud-based simulator course, they are able to do many experiments on their own and then clear their ideas, whatever doubts they had. So as an instructor, I had to only guide them. Otherwise, most of the learning they are doing on their own. So it gives them a lot of confidence, and the feedback is very good. In fact, many senior engineers, they recommend to their company to send their juniors for this kind of cloud-based simulator training.
Great.
So it is taken positively. Yeah.
Thank you. Mr. Jerome, over to you. And after this, we will go back to the MC. We need to complete the event.
Yes, sir. My view is the pre-C training, it has to be in-house. That is, it has to be happen in the campus. Right now, there is a gap between the theory and practical part. Earlier, before the online classes, both the theory and practical, they went together. So the cadets were able to correlate whatever they have learned in the theory part with the practical, what they are doing. Now, when there is a gap, they tend to forget the things what they have learned in the theory part. So extra additional hours has to be put in to bring them to the same level to start with the practical to correlate with it. So that is the only drawback which I could feel in online teaching.
Yeah, there are especially some challenges. Yes, Dr. Kumar, you want to say something?
With your permission, thank you very much for giving me that opportunity. I was looking at the interesting.
I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now, sir?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was keenly looking at the discussion going on.
Yeah.
And what is my take on this is that we in India for maritime training, we need to go in for massive research. We need to know how the student is going to learn, what he wants, what he or she wants to learn, and how they want to learn that. Of course, they can't decide what they want to learn. They have been told what to be learned during this process. But that has to be taken from research, and the research has to be a real-time research. We need more researchers in maritime field, and that will revolutionize the learning process and the training process. If I draw your attention to a very quick research, which I just gone through, there's a famous global industry analyst. They carried out a survey way back in 2014, and they came out with that in 2015. E-learning will be going to US dollar 107 billion plus, and it did. The same people have come out with the research now, not considering pandemic, but before pandemic, that the e-learning by 2025 is going to jump to 325 US billion dollars. So that's going to be a massive one. If a training provider, or rather an LMS provider in Canada, can have a 14 million hits every day, we are a big nation and we are a big maritime resource provider to the world. Why can't we have someone like that? And with that, I leave it to the organizers and to Captain Shiv, that why can't we have something like that which can have millions of hits every day onto the platforms which we envisage. Thank you, sir.
Food for thought. Thank you, Dr. Surinder. It's already 7 o'clock, and we really need to wind up. It's a Sunday evening as well, and the dialogue has been extremely invigorating and enjoyable at the same time. And I hand over back to, firstly, I must thank all the participants for their wonderful thoughts and comments. But I need to hand over to Mr. Sanjay Vakil, the MC, Master of Ceremonies for the day. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Captain Shivalbe, sir. We would have, the guest of honor is probably not well. I think she's not joining. So we have some time in hand, and we also have some questions probably for Shri Pawan Kapoor and Yanki Sharma. So with your permission, probably I think would have them also, and probably have some questions for both the Mr. Pawan and Captain Yanki. Yeah, Captain Shiv, if you can just probably in the chat or anything, Captain Sharma and Mr. Pawan Kapoor.
Sir, can I have a question, sir?
Captain Halve, can we ask questions now?
Yeah, so what happened? Yeah, you could put it on chat, please. I think we'll go by that channel. We could put it on chat so that there's not much of disturbance. So if you could, anybody who wants to ask questions could put it on chat. I think that's what the organizers mentioned. And since it was a good presentation by even Shri Pawan Kapoor and Captain Sharma. So if any questions are there, you could put it on chat before Captain sums it up. And then we go to the important event to hear from our chief guest.
Yeah. And any technical questions also you can post later, if there are any specific technical questions.
Shiv, with your permission, can I come in?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, no, I think we are running out of time, so I just wanted to ask a question to Pawan or to audience in large, but mainly to Pawan, and Yashovardhan we can also answer. What is coming in the way? We have been talking about, onboard training for, other than cadets, other than training marine engineers, but what I've seen during my career, when I was mainly in the British ship, when a second mate was about to become a chief officer, he was asked by a captain to go forward and use the anchor, and he was also asked to do the stability calculation. Similarly, when a chief officer was about to be promoted, the master would ask him to take over command of the ship and do the maneuvering and do whatever master has to do. And only after he was satisfied, then he recommended to the company, now this officer is free to be captain, or this officer to be free to be fit to be chief officer. That kind of thing, we do not see in the Indian training system. In some, officers do it, some companies also do it, but there's no structured mechanism. And Pawan has, talked about it, but, we have been talking about it for a long time, but, why are we not able to, put our act together? What is that stopping us? What is coming in our way? Thank you.
Thank you, Captain Sagi. You're right, sir. I mean, this is something which has been lacking in our system. While somewhere we do understand the value of this, the reasons could be very many. One is that we used to, like, I can give you my example. As a junior engineer, we spent almost 12 months on a ship, 63 people, as I mentioned, in a bulk carrier. So somehow the time available for us to learn along the way was substantial. What has happened now is that the people come on board for 4 to 6 months max. The training, of course, is also there for a limited period. The total complement, the crew size has come down substantially. And somehow in the process, people feel that they don't have the time to do training, although it may not be true, because even with 24 to 26 people on board, there is sufficient time. So there is probably a lack of an attitude to groom others, that is one of the serious aspects that I have noticed. If we structure the whole thing, there's a possibility that to some extent things will start to fall in line, but still the motivational aspect of the trainer or the mentor or the senior person on board would be very, very vital. So yes, you're right, it has been lacking. Don't seem to have a very crisp answer for it, how it could be done, but probably structuring to some extent and then training the seniors ashore help better. Sharma, would you like to contribute to this, please?
Yeah, sure, sir. It's pretty straightforward. If you look at the company safety management system, you will find the words there, rank advancement training. And the responsibility is given to head of departments to actually perform that before anyone is promoted by the company. So promotions are not happening simply because someone in the office decides, okay, this guy has done enough time and let's push him up. They need a report from the ship that he is ready, he or she is ready and has gone through all the job tasks that have to be performed at the higher level. So a formally documented system is there. In reality, your guess is as good as mine why it's not followed. Possibly one reason is that the stakes are too high. I don't think masters today would really hand over maneuvering of the ship to the mate and then take a chance of having some kind of a mishap. There would be too much to answer, which is quite different from our days where, as Mr. Pawan Kapoor also said, and many of you would have gone through the similar experiences. In my case also, I remember one of the masters came and told me, Sharma, let me anchor the ship today. I just want to keep my hand in, because he had practically handed over all the maneuvering of the ship to me when I was his chief officer. And one day he comes and requests me, hey, let me do the anchoring today. So such a big difference it is in generations, in the scenarios, in the way circumstances have changed. So we can find hundreds of reasons for it. But the bigger question is what to do about it, how to get that mentoring back, how to get that grooming, as you said, the word back. I don't have a very clear answer for it. It's individual to individual.
If I may just add, Captain Sharma just said, is that in last 7 to 8 years, we actually put up a distance learning program mainly for engineers in place, which now we have fully digitalized. Now, this is a program which cadets carry on board, they complete the task and send the journals back to us, which we assess and give them feedback. And our aim is to give them feedback while they are still on the ship. Now, what we have noticed over here, now, of course, it's fully digitalized, so I would say the feedback goes very quickly. But companies where the company training officers ashore are very focused on training and have dedicated time for this purpose. And also you have staff on board. There the program works very, very well. Whereas somewhere it just becomes like a routine, things being passed on. So a lot depends also on how well a company office is going to support such a competence building exercise. But as I said earlier, with technology, we can speed up the feedback. A person is on board, can get it corrected. A lot can be done. We don't have to really wait endlessly for the right time to come to it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Mr. Vakil, any other questions did you see?
Thanks, sir. I think we have got Madam also, so I think we are on time.
Yeah, we should. Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much for the participation. It has been a very enlightening evening. And the fact that on a Sunday evening we have so many people glued to their screens is a testimony to your efforts and achievements. Thank you very much. Over to you, Sanjeev.
Thank you. Thank you to all the panelists and all the award winners. Once again, it was a good event. Certainly, I think we heard from all those awardees and the experts, Mr. Pawan and Captain Sharma. And thanks for those questions as well. Now let's go to the next, and I think this is the most important part of the whole session. And we have here Dr. Malini Shankar, Vice Chancellor, Honorable Vice Chancellor, former Director General of Shipping. There could not have been anybody better in this particular session of the 10th year of celebration for MTG. Madam, thank you very much that your presence has, I think, brought in a lot of light here. And the same way, I remember as a Director General of Shipping, you brought the innovation, the whole maritime institutes, which were, I've been telling this earlier also, and I'll repeat that you brought everybody, all of us into one roof, and we had such sessions of interaction, and that's how it started. And we have seen you have brought a revolution at daily shipping, at the e-governance, the exit, whatever has, I think you sown the seeds, and today we are seeing the fruits. So thanks for that. And certainly now that you are at the helm of the largest university and at IMU, which I am sure that we are in safe hands, and you would be taking IMU also to greater heights, and probably Indian Maritime University would be the first choice for many of them, even the foreign students. So over to you, Madam. I think we would like to have your kind words right now for the audience. Dr. Malini Shankar.
Thank you, Mr. Vakil, for those kind words. I certainly do not think this is the most important part of today's event. You mentioned that we come to the important part. The important part was the entire, all this discussions and the question and answers, and everybody gets to learn a little through these discussions. At the outset, I would like to felicitate the Maritime Trainers Guild on the occasion of completing a decade in the service of maritime education and training, and hearty felicitations on their 10th anniversary. We know that India has more than 150 maritime training institutions and about 5,000 trainers. And the MTG is the sole organization focused on the effective and efficient transfer of the knowledge. Now, this knowledge, if I can divide it into two parts, the technical and the non-technical. Whether it is for a degree course or whether it is for competency, I think both these parts need to go together. A bulk of the discussions today was very much focused on the technical aspects, the engineering, the simulators, AR and VR, etc. But I would like to draw the attention of the members and of the organization towards the non-technical aspects. You are aware, and I've shared this with very many of you, that there's a constant feedback that our level of competence when it comes to communication skills is on the wane over the last few decades, and there are countries biting at our heels to take over in case we don't pull up our socks and ensure that we retain that pole position when it comes to attitudes and communication skills. Alongside communication skills, this is a global industry, and our cadets and our professionals are competing with the best in the world. If the demand exceeds the supply, then yes, if the jobs go up, all of them will be absorbed. But in a situation where there is a crunch, I think aspects like communication skills and critical analysis and thinking is necessary to identify leaders among the Indian professionals so that we can get more, we can leverage that to make a greater impact in the global industry. What I find, whether it is technical or non-technical, over the last few decades, we have veered away from conceptual thinking and application of mind towards more theoretical thinking, towards more what I call in universities question banks. It kind of, I'm a little allergic to this when some faculty tells me we have a very large question bank. So all you need is to delve into that question bank, whether you're attempting orals or written, and then pass the exams. If you look at the analysis of even the oral exams in the DG shipping, we used to find, I don't know the latest statistics, we did find that there were people doing their orals for about, 5th, 6th, 7th time. They were writing exams. There was one or two people who were doing it, making the 13th attempt. Now, if this is the case, there is something which is lacking either in the student, in the professional, or in the faculty, and wonder whether MTG can actually look at these statistics and see whether there is any policy reforms that can be suggested. In fact, the DG shipping did consider, and I don't know whether they have taken action on it, saying we have to limit the number of attempts. This has happened in the Indian Maritime University. The number of attempts have been restricted. But while doing that, I think we also have to question whether we are raising the capability of both the classroom teaching as well as the learning. These are so I did ask that question about testing and evaluation. Now, it's a very, very relevant question when it comes more to non-competency courses, but it's equally applicable. The examination patterns have not changed, I'm told, in the last 100 years. But when we are making a cataclysmic shift from classroom teaching alone towards online learning, towards hybrid forms of learning, which is both classroom as well as online, and we are going towards multiple choice questions, we are going towards open book learnings, but especially even if we limit to virtual classrooms and special needs for that, we need to very, very closely and critically look at the capabilities of the teachers and the professors, whether the question papers, whether the testing mechanisms are appropriate, whether the evaluation methods are appropriate. I think there's a lot, there is a gap there, and MTG would do well to look at those gaps if it so desires. So these are some of the thoughts that I would like to share. And I think during the question and answer session, Dr. Surendra Kumar made a very, very relevant point that there needs to be some research. So while I talk about statistics, I think he's talking about the qualitative aspect of doing research and learning from it to improve the teaching learning entire process in the maritime sector. So, as far as mentoring is concerned, there used to be in the British times something called an understudy. It didn't have very highfalutin words like mentor and mentee, but there used to be something called understudy, which basically means somebody takes a junior into their arms and he or she is the understudy. So I think we are going back to that in a modern days. So with these words, I would like to again express my deep appreciation to MTG for organizing this very rich and diverse conversation among your members and among the fraternity. I do like the motto. It says there is one wealth which grows by sharing, and that is knowledge. It's a beautiful motto. And my closing words are, may that wealth keep multiplying. Best wishes, congratulations to the award winners, and best wishes to each one of you in achieving the objectives that the MTG has set out for all of us. Thank you so much, and thank you for having invited me.
Thank you, madam. Thanks. Thank you very much. And for those inspiring words. And certainly you set a tone, and you also gave directions as to which way MTG will move forward. And I'm sure with the learned people here at the MTG group and our president, we'll surely try to implement those into action, and we'll try to come back to you. And probably next year, you'll see some action taken across to whatever you're told. So thank you, madam. Thanks for your kind words. And may I now just ask the back office to kindly just present a memento, please. I think a memento for appreciation of Dr. Malini Shankar. Can I have them on the screen, please? Thank you, madam. Thank you once again, though it's just a virtual memento, but the physical memento will try to reach across. Thank you very much. So may I now request Captain Kamal Chadha, General Secretary, to kindly propose the vote of thanks.
Thank you so much, Sanjeev. Thank you. Yes, it's been great learning experience over here, but I'll just quickly go back to the times when I came to sea and what was happening then. I was a direct entry cadet with zero knowledge about the sea or about ships. At the age of 17, I joined the Shipping Corporation of India Limited. There was no training whatsoever, and I was put on the ship. So in the bargain, we made a lot of gaffes. And I'll tell you about one of the gaffes. I was a cadet, 3 to 4 months, I think, on the ship. And I was sent astern to go and check if the propeller is clear. So the bridge calls up and says, is the propeller clear? So just for people who may not know, I'm sure everyone does, but the propeller clearance is a very important thing, because a moving propeller while the ship is in port or at anchorage could foul with ropes, boats, injure people, whatever. So you want to make sure that the propeller is clear. But when the bridge asked me, is the propeller clear? My answer was, no, sir, it is still in the water. So that's the kind of situation we grew up and learned in. There's more stories, more gaffes, but I will go back to thanking everyone. James Allen, the British author and thinker, once said, "No duty is more urgent and no duty is complete without giving thanks." On behalf of the entire Maritime Trainers Guild, the President, Captain Prabhat Nigam, and I hope he gets well soon, and the MTG Event Organizing Committee, I have the honor and pleasure to deliver this vote of gratitude. My sincere thanks to our chief guest, Dr. Malini Shankar, who has taken out time, mind you, from her leisure time, to be with us right through the event. Thank you so much, ma'am. We really appreciate that. The presenting speakers, Mr. Pawan Kapoor and Captain Yashovarman Sharma, have, I'm sure, spent a lot of time and sweat to put their excellent presentations together, often burning the midnight oil in the process, I hear, and even stealing time from their precious families. Our gracious thanks to both of you. Congratulations to the award winners. Thank you so much, Dr. Saxena, for conducting flawlessly the MTG Awards ceremony. A special thanks to Captain Shiv Halbe for so brilliantly conducting the panel discussion. It was quite exciting to hear what makes award winners tick, because they are award winners for being excellent teachers. and having excellent knowledge in their respective fields. A gracious thanks to all the supporters of the event souvenir. There's 10 of them. There's a Mediterranean Shipping Company, which is MSc Ship Management Mumbai, Hindustan Institute of Maritime Training, Chennai, International Maritime Institute, Greater Noida, Maritime Association of Ship Owners, Ship Managers and Agents, that is MASA, ATPI India, Dynacom Tankers Management Private Limited, Applied Research International, that's ARI, the Maritime Union of India, MUI, Amit University, Chennai, and Marex Media Private Limited. The organizing committees have been working for over a month to put this two-day event together. The list of names is very long, so I'll say a simple yet sincere thank you to all of you. Our gratefulness to the media, maritime as well as general media, for providing pre and post-event publicity. A significant word of appreciation for the young Mr. Kirtan Vakil and the HIMD team for providing the Zoom platform and doing all the good work behind the curtains. Team Marex has taken care of the publicity design and artwork. A very important word of thanks to Ms. Delphine, Mr. Shirish Kirtane, and Mr. Mangesh Shelar for their hard work and coordination at times during some ungodly hours. I hope I have not missed anyone. My apologies if I have. Thank you all and have a very pleasant evening.
And
Thank you.
Kamal Chadda, thanks to you also. I think you have been the person, General Secretary, and you took charge, in absence of Captain Nigam directions, and Mr. S.M. Rai, I think, who is silent, but who has been the master behind the scenes. Okay, sir, thank you very much for your guidance, because you wanted to be behind the scenes, but I think you have done a lot, I think, guiding us right through for the event. And I know Captain Kamal is somewhere here, but then still, may I request now for a small photo session, if it's okay for everybody to just, then we could have one photo session. That would be a memory for our next event. Those who can switch on, it would be great, so that we could have everybody on once. Yeah. So
thank you, Kamal.
Yes.
On a lighter note, in all of these thanks now, we don't have to thank the hotel for their arrangements and catering, you know.
Yes, I was thinking of that. Also the people who paid for the bar, you know, those people as well.
The new normal, I guess.
Gentlemen, those who can switch on the video will be appreciating if you could kindly switch on, so that we have at least 49 frames. We have Captain Basin, Captain Ashok Advani. Yes, we have seen, we have, I think, all of them who are just on the screen right now. Yes, Captain Hajra, sorry, Mr. Hajra. And,
well, he is Captain.
He is Captain. He is Captain. He is a member of the company of Master Mariners. He's a fellow.
Captain.
So Ethan can take a screenshot, and the team together can take a screenshot. Yes. It says smile and probably a thumbs up, probably for the 10th event. So probably with this, we should meet again. Stay healthy, stay safe. Thank you all once again, Dr. Mani Shankar. Thank you very much for on a Sunday, as you have been here for the whole event. Thank you very much.
Thank you and good night.
Thank you, everybody. Good night.
Thank you, everybody. Bye.
Thank you, everybody. Organizing team, job well done.
Thanks,
everybody.
Thank you, Saxena sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Saxena sir.